Hello, my grandchildren. How are you doing today? Pop-Pop's going to take a walk, and I thought I'd tackle a recurring question that I get from two of my grandchildren pretty frequently. They say, Pop-Pop, how can Jesus be God's son, and then Jesus be God too? And then you hit me with the even ever more popular, who's God's father? You sure didn't take it easy on the old man. Them's tough questions. And after considerable thought about how to answer that question for you, all I really have is, I don't know. It's got to do about the separation of spirit and carnality. That much I do know. Which is a big part of why we're here. We're kind of born into this weird carnal state of the flesh, and we have this carnal reasoning that we spend probably half of our lives developing. Things that make sense to the carnal. And our common sense is part of that carnal process. And then we find, after we reach for God, after we try to find some understanding of God and some relationship with Him, that we're instructed by God as a direction toward Him to let go of that carnality, which the Bible considers the old man. That's who you are, that's who you come to be, the old man, in your youth. And then in your older age, you try to become that spiritual man, which is the man that's saved. So Jesus was born in the flesh. He was born mankind. So he would be the perfect relate to the human condition, the perfect sacrifice for that. When he graduates, to use a word that may not be befitting, but it may be, he graduates from the flesh upon being that perfect human in an imperfect world. And for him to be sacrificed, it made it a worthy sacrifice. And he opened a door that we can all go through. And when he goes through that door, he becomes something of God that we don't understand in the state that we're in. Because we're not of that perfect state like Jesus was. So, you're right. It's hard to understand. It's complicated. These feelings and emotions that I've developed over the years, very hard to try to even attempt to put it into words, if not impossible. So, with that being said, I'll have to say, I don't know. But I do know that God spent an awful lot of energy on this plan. In that sense, we just have to trust God. God's not only good, but He's perfect. And God's got a plan to save us from the dead, the spiritually dead. He's got a plan to recycle us. He's got a plan that is going to save His children from perishing. God said one time in the Scriptures, He said, "It's not my desire that any should perish, but that all should come to righteousness." Preachers all over the world try to tell you what that means. I'll try to tell you what it means to me. And God has a will. And if God can't have His will be done, who can? And it's God's will that none should perish. So I feel that God is going to save you. He's just waiting on you. Look, I got a cat riding a deer. He's just waiting on you to ask Him, to reach out and ask Him for some help and guidance. It'll come to you. So who's God's Father? If He wanted us to have those types of thoughts and know those types of things at this point, we would, but we don't. So it's unimportant now. The only thing that's important is that we find the mechanism within ourselves to come to God. One of the things He'll give us in this piece of coming to Him is to be okay with not knowing the answers to these questions. So that's it for the morning discussion. It's a tough subject. Little kids that come up with questions like that, that's a thinker. And I appreciate both of the grandchildren that's hammered on that question so many times in our talks. It's a wonderful sign of reaching. And in the Sistine Chapel, there's a artistry of a human man reaching out to the hand of God. It's a beautiful, beautiful art of work. And that's what it describes, what you're doing, that questioning, that curiosity. So thank you for that. And Pop-Pop's going to get back in the house and finish his hot tea and a couple of cookies. And then, because you guys are going to show up here in a couple of hours. This is a few days before Christmas. Your school is out. You're coming to hang with us, and I'm excited about that. We're going to have a great time today. And hopefully you'll have some fond memories of these days as you're watching these videos, probably years from now. Pop-Pop loves you. Pop-Pop and Nana loves you very much. And we'll talk at you again, grandchildren.